The alarm inside ADX Florence screamed so loud it felt like the walls were shaking. Red lights flashed everywhere as guards ran past the tiny window of cell 13. Inside that cell stood a man named Derek Hale, staring at something no inmate should ever see, an open door. His cell door, the one that was supposed to stay locked for 23 hours every single day, was wide open, by itself. And just a few feet away, another door slid open with a sharp metal click. Derek froze. He knew ADX Florence was called the world's most secure prison for a reason. Nothing here ever opened unless the system wanted it to. But tonight something had gone wrong, or someone had made it go wrong. He heard a voice whisper from the darkness of the hallway. "Derek, it's time." Before he could turn, the lights suddenly cut off, plunging everything into darkness. The whole prison went dead silent except for the emergency sirens in the far distance. Derek felt his heartbeat pounding in his ears as he reached out toward the open doorway. Then, a sharp metallic crash echoed through the hallway, followed by a deep, angry shout. And that is where everything began to go wrong. 24 hours earlier, Derek Hale was sitting on his concrete bed staring at the blank wall of his cell. ADX Florence didn't allow much. No TV, no visits, no freedom. Just long, empty hours in a room the size of a walk-in closet. Derek was serving a life sentence for a robbery that had ended badly, and he had spent the last 8 years learning how to stay invisible. Every morning was exactly the same. At 5 a.m., the slot in his door opened so a guard could slide in a tray of food. At 7:30 a.m., he took his 1 hour of recreation inside a small concrete yard by himself. Then it was back to silence until lights out. But on this day something was different. A new inmate arrived. Marcus Reed, a former tech criminal who people whispered had once hacked into banks, airports, and even government servers. Marcus didn't talk much, but when he did, he spoke like he knew secrets nobody else should know. Derek met him during recreation. Marcus walked close and whispered, "Do you ever wonder what would happen if someone broke the system here? Just one small crack." Derek frowned. "This place doesn't break." Marcus smiled. "Everything breaks." Later, Derek was escorted back to his cell. On the way he saw something strange, 3 guards talking in low voices with worried faces. One kept glancing at the control room windows. Another kept checking his radio even though it wasn't making any noise. Something was wrong in ADX Florence, but nobody was saying it out loud. That night during lights out, Derek heard tapping. Soft, slow but steady. He sat up listening. It wasn't coming from inside his cell. It was coming from the walls. Tap, 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 tap. He pressed his ear against the cold concrete. Someone, somewhere, was sending a signal. Then a voice echoed faintly through the vent. "Tomorrow. Be ready." Derek froze. Be ready for what? But before he could think more about it, the lights flickered for the first time since he'd arrived at ADX Florence. Only for a second, but long enough for him to feel something was building. Something big. The next morning, guards moved faster than usual. Radios buzzed constantly. Some inmates were even kept in their cells longer. Derek could feel tension in the air like the whole prison was holding its breath. During recreation he saw Marcus again. Marcus gave him a quick nod and mouthed one word. "Tonight." Derek didn't want trouble. He didn't want danger. He definitely didn't want whatever Marcus was planning. But it was too late. He could feel it. He was already caught inside something he didn't understand. Hours later, when night fell again, Derek lay awake staring at the door. Everything was silent. Until the lights blinked off. A deep rumble echoed under the floor. And then the sound that should never, ever happen. Click. His door unlocking. He slowly stood up, heart pounding. That was when the second door in the hallway slid open on its own, and that strange whisper called out to him. "Derek, it's time." Before he could take one step forward, a massive explosion shook the entire prison, bursting through the lower level like thunder. The shockwave threw Derek against the wall as alarms exploded everywhere. Something was happening inside ADX Florence. Something that should have been impossible. And this was only the beginning. Derek pushed himself off the floor as dust drifted from the ceiling. The explosion had shaken ADX Florence like an earthquake. From somewhere below, he heard guards shouting, metal slamming, and the crackle of broken wires sparking. The whole prison felt alive, almost breathing like a giant waking up angry. The open door in front of him waited, dark and silent. He didn't want to walk through it. But staying inside the cell during a prison-wide blackout felt even more dangerous. He stepped out slowly, the cold floor sending chills up his legs. The hallway was dim, lit only by the emergency red lights that blinked every few seconds. Then he saw him, Marcus Reed standing at the far end of the hallway, calm and confident like he had been expecting all of this. "You did this?" Derek whispered. Marcus shook his head. "Not all of it. But I opened the first door. The rest, that's someone else." Another explosion shook the prison, smaller this time but closer. Dust rained from the ceiling like gray snow. "Come on," Marcus said. "We don't have long." Derek followed, but every step made him more confused. Marcus moved like he had memorized the layout of the prison. Left, right, down another hallway. They passed cells where inmates were shouting, banging on the doors, scared or excited or both. Some screamed for help. Others screamed for the guards. Others just screamed. This wasn't a normal escape attempt. Something bigger was happening. When they turned the next corner, Derek saw a guard lying on the floor. Alive, but unconscious. His radio crackled beside him. Marcus crouched and pulled something small from the guard's belt. A keycard. "You're not trying to escape, are you?" Derek asked nervously. Marcus gave him a sharp look. "I'm trying to stop something." "Stop what?" Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he walked to a locked steel door and swiped the keycard. The door slid open with a heavy hiss, revealing a narrow stairwell lit by flickering orange lights. "Down there?" Derek asked. Marcus nodded. "That's where the first blast came from. Whoever is doing this is trying to shut down the entire security grid. If they manage that, every door in the prison will open." Derek stepped back. "That's impossible." Marcus didn't smile. "Not anymore." As they walked down the stairs, Derek felt the heat rising. The air smelled like burning wires. Somewhere below, he heard another loud crash like metal collapsing. At the bottom of the stairs was a long hallway filled with smoke and blinking alarms. Pipes hung loose from the ceiling. A burst water line sprayed across the floor. And then, they heard footsteps. Fast, loud, coming closer. Marcus pulled Derek into a shadow between two pipes. Derek held his breath as the footsteps grew louder. A figure appeared through the smoke. A guard? No. Too heavy. Too fast. Too wrong. When the man stepped into the flickering light, Derek felt his stomach drop. It was Daniel Knox, a former special ops soldier who had been locked in ADX Florence for a string of violent crimes. Knox was known inside the prison as the Hammer, a man who could fight 5 guards at once and win. He was supposed to be locked behind triple steel doors. But here he was, walking free. His eyes were wild. His fists were clenched. His uniform was torn from breaking through something. Maybe someone. Marcus whispered. He wasn't supposed to be part of this. Knox turned his head like he heard something. His eyes narrowed. He took a slow step forward, scanning the hallway. Derek felt his heart stop. If Knox found them, they were dead. Marcus slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device with blinking lights, some kind of homemade signal jammer. Knox took another step. Marcus pressed a button. The device let out a sharp, piercing beep that echoed through the hallway. Knox froze, covering his ears. The lights above them flickered wildly. "Run," Marcus hissed. They sprinted through the smoke as Knox roared behind them, the kind of sound that made the whole hallway vibrate. Derek didn't